What's up guys, and welcome back to the infamous project. If you haven't seen my last video on this parts car, make sure you go check it out because, well, this guy's an organ donor to the Foxbodies and going to be supplying life to a number of other cars. So today I'm going to be yanking out this motor, and I'm just going to do it on a time lapse and see how quick I can get the stock 50302 V8 motor out of this 1989 Foxbody. The only advantage that I have right now is that the clutch fan is off and the fan shroud because, well, those bearings let loose out of the water pump. If you didn't see it on the video, make sure you check it out. I have a box of tools here. That's it. I'm going to try and hopefully I remembered every tool that I needed so I can zip through this and potentially get this guy out in not record time, because I know there are some guys that are faster than me, but I'm going to get this thing out super quick. Take off the upper intake manifold is for two reasons. It's gonna have to come off anyways, and you'll see I had to take the little torch, just little propane butane torch, and heat up the Torx bolts. Make sure you don't break them because that would suck. Those plaques are hard to find and you don't have to drill into your intake. And the other reason why taking the upper intake off is important is because, well, it limits the amount of work you're gonna have to do on the underside of the car. You can notice I'm reaching down in here and getting all the bell housing bolts off, and what the reality is once, and I do take the headers off and just kind of lean them off to the side. In this case, half that exhaust is kind of rotted anyways, so there's a lot of flop and movement. So take the plugs out, take the headers out, and the reality is the only bolts that I probably will have to do from the underside is going to be the two motor mount nuts and then the two little engine spacer plate bolts at the bottom of the bell housing, and probably the one starter bolt. Everything else I can actually get from the top side. Alright guys, so there we go. I've got everything that I can get from the top side of the motor unbolted or loosened off or disconnected, removed, whatever. You can see that the valve covers changed at one point during the video. That's because a friend of mine came and picked them up because they're actually going off to powder coat, as well as the AC bracket, a couple of other things. That's sort of what inspired me to start pulling this motor out today, was to get those parts off. But I even managed to get the motor mount nut off of this side from the top here. All the bell housing bolts are all off with the exception of the two little ones for the dust shield down there. You can see how loose the exhaust, like, yeah, that's rotted off and just hanging down there. So this will just get set over to the side, much as the passenger side over here. all the emission stuff, everything was actually still hooked up on this car. You know, everything right to the lower intake manifold, the solenoid, and all the sensors, everything was connected here, all the vacuum lines and everything else. So everything is in really nice shape. This did snap here, but that's, you know, brittle Texas heat catching up with things. The AC I have left connected. You can see the compressor is just folded over to the side here. If you cared about your fender, you know, you could either rope this up to the hood somehow, or, you know, come up with something just to make sure you're not rusty on your fender, but this fender is beat anyways. So I will get this all disconnected after the fact. I don't know if there's gas in it or not. It's just kind of more laziness and emphasis on getting the motor out. So now I actually can jack this thing up, get the two nuts or bolts that are holding on the engine separation plate to the bell housing on the bottom, the bottom starter bolt, since we managed to get the top one off from the top side here, and then this motor mount here, and then that's it. This thing can come out. Guys, stock 5.0 motor out of this car. Everything was pretty straightforward, no broken bolts, nothing like that. Actually, all the oil from those leaky lower intake manifold gaskets pretty much lubricated and kept everything good. The biggest pain in the ass was just taking off the plaque on the top of the intake manifold. So other than that, everything is out. How long did it take? Looking by the timestamps on the GoPro, less than 2 hours. You know, that's a couple breaks here and there, checking my phone, all that other good stuff. So there you have it, guys. Motor sitting right here. Going to just get it wrapped up. I'll take the accessories off, and then it's going to need a deep clean. Look at all of that oil and grime and everything else. So great opportunity. Like I said, the compression is amazing in this motor, so everything is good there, but it's going to get new gaskets for the timing cover, water pump intake manifolds, oil pan. We'll get some new motor mounts. These ones are destroyed, and this thing will be looking good as new. Like I said, valve cover is already off to powder coat. It's going to use a different intake. I'm going to keep this one because it's just so minty and original. And yeah, we'll get this all dressed up, cleaned up, and ready to go into the white San Antonio coupe.